Hello everyone, in today's video we will discuss the burn topic from the Graven Smith book of plastic surgery. In burn cases, 93% cases are thermal burn, 4% are electrical burn and 3% are chemical burn. Burn causes the local symptoms, but if the total burn surface area crosses 20%, there are systemic changes such as there is increased permeability of the vessels. Therefore, as the permeability increases, content leak out and there is decrease in intravascular volume. Moreover, there is decreased T cell function, therefore immunity decreases, chances of superadded infection are increased, and there is a persistent hypermetabolic state which leads to poor wound healing. In the first 24 hours, there is increased permeability leading to protein loss, and that protein accumulates in the burned area. Even after 24 hours, when the permeability of the vessel returns to normal, still edema occurs and intravascular volume loss occurs because of the deposited protein in the burn wound. In acute phases, interleukins are released in large numbers, which can cause fever. Therefore, there is no need to start antibiotics immediately if there are no signs of infection. If we start antibiotic earlier, there are chances of resistance. Therefore, to prevent antimicrobial resistance, we should not directly start the antibiotics. Coming to the zones of burn, as seen in the histopathology, the first zone is the zone of coagulation, where the damage has been done and this part of the tissue can never be revived. Adjacent to the zone of coagulation is the zone of stasis. This zone of stasis is reversible. If adequate resuscitation is given, this zone of stasis converts into zone of hyperemia. But if resuscitation is inadequate, this zone of stasis converts into zone of coagulation. Therefore, more extensive damage is done. Therefore, resuscitation is very important in case of burn patient. Now coming to the criteria for transfer to the burn center. There are very clear criteria. The first is if it is a thermal burn and total burn surface area is more than 10%. Any TBSA with full thickness burn or deep or partial thickness burn of the face, hand, genitalia, joint and perineum, which will require referral to the burn center. If there is any inhalational injuries, because inhalational injuries have added comorbidities such as airway management is needed, management of the carbon monoxide poisoning, there is fluid resuscitation of airway burn, which is up to 40% of total burn surface area equivalent. If there is electrical burn, we have to directly refer to the burn center. If there is chemical burn. Now coming to the burn classification based on depth. Now, in case of first degree burn, here there is only first degree burn and only epidermis layer is involved. Dermis is not involved. In this case of first degree burn, there is only erythema and there is brisk blanching. It heals in 96 hours. Advice is only aloe vera moisturizer. For example, sunburn is a type of first degree burn. In second degree burn, there are two types. The first is superficial and the second is deep. In superficial second degree, only the papillary dermis is involved, and papillary dermis is involved, which heals in 2 to 3 weeks. Here only daily dressing and exfoliation is done. Exfoliation is important because it removes the protein debris, therefore it prevents the pseudo scar formation. Patients are also advised to wash the wound with soap and water. After that, an occlusive moist dressing with or without antibiotic ointment is advised. There are blisters in second degree superficial burn, and according to the author, it is advised to rupture and debride the blisters and fluid. Now coming to the second degree deep burn, you can appreciate that in second degree superficial only papillary dermis was involved. In second degree deep burn, reticular dermis is also involved, and reticular dermis has the maximum number of nerve endings. So therefore first degree burn is painful, second is even more painful, and third degree burn is even more painful. And reticular dermis has appendages. These appendages are the site of regeneration. Now coming to the color difference, the second degree deep burn are cherry red in appearance, and there is characteristic loss of blanching because the vessels are also damaged in which are running in the reticular dermis. It has maximum number of nerve fibers, therefore pain is maximum. Contrary to what we were doing in second degree superficial, here blisters are to be preserved because it helps in maintaining the vascularity, which improves recovery. The second degree deep wound heals in 3 to 9 weeks from periphery because all the appendages which are lying in the reticular dermis are dead now. Therefore healing only occurs from the normal skin. Therefore it will take a lot of time. So it is better to do excision and grafting after 48 hours when the burn wound has fully declared itself, because when the wound heal by secondary intention, there are chances of hypertrophic scar, and also timing will be increased very much. Now coming to third degree burn. In third degree burn, even the subcutaneous tissue is also involved. In third degree burn, it is characteristically leathery, white and painless. Painless because all the nerve fibers are now damaged, therefore there is no pain. Here there are two approaches. One, we can do excision down to the fat layer, but if we do excision till fat layer, there are chances of more bleeding, and fat is not a good layer for SSG. Therefore it is advised to do suprafacial excision and grafting is done. If the fascia is present, the chances of graft uptakes are more. But if third degree burn has less than 5 cm square area, only dressing is sufficient and it will heal by secondary intention. Now coming to the ointments which we frequently use in burn patient. The first is the silver sulfaridazine and the second is the mefenite acetate. There are advantages and disadvantages of both. Coming to the silver sulfaridazine, it has advantage that it enters eschar and has broad antimicrobial action, and it also facilitates chemical debridement. It is advantageous, but this point is disadvantage in case of superficial burn. Therefore silver sulfaridazine is not used in superficial burn because it will cause debridement and will cause more injury. The disadvantages of silver sulfaridazine is that it has very poor entry in cartilage and it causes leukopenia. Coming to mefenite acetate, it has advantage that cartilage penetration is very good, therefore it is frequently used in case of face, ear and nose. Disadvantage is that it is a sulfa drug, therefore there are chances of hypersensitive reactions, and moreover mefenide has a painful application and it has to be applied twice daily. There are no role of systemic antibiotics in burn patient except when there is sepsis. Now coming to the calculation of burn area. Only for calculation of burn size, only second degree or more severe burns are counted. First degree burns are not counted. Coming to the Wallace rule of 9, it states that head and neck region has 9 percent. Chest, anterior chest has 9%, posterior has 9%, one arm has 9%, other arm has 9%, one leg whole has 18%, the other whole leg has, lower limb has 18%, and the perineum has 1%. There is other method of Palmer's method where the patient palm is taken and it approximates to about 1% TBSA. It is used when the burn is in patchy form. Now coming to the Lund and Broder chart, it can be used to estimate burn in children. Here the head portion has maximum 18% and the lower limbs have 14%, and for every 1 year increase we have to subtract 1% per year from the head and add that 0.5 and 0.5 to the each limb. So if the child is 2 years old, the head percent will fall to 17% and the lower limb percent will increase to 14.5 and 14.5%, and so on till it reaches the 9% and the legs reaches the 18%. Now coming to the mortality estimation. Baux score is calculated by adding age and total burn surface area. Modified Baux score is added as age plus total body surface area plus 17 for inhalational injury. Inhalational injury increases mortality. Now coming to the management part. Resuscitation is the main management in case of burn patient. Resuscitation is needed if the total burn surface area is more than 20% in adult and more than 15% in children. We calculate the amount of fluid by using Parkland formula. Here the volume is 4 into weight into total body surface area. The half of the calculated volume is given in first 8 hours and the other remaining half is given in first 16 hours. For using this formula, we can use the maximum TBSA as 50%. After that, even if the burn is 70%, we calculate it as 50%. This Parkland formula is not absolute. All we have to do is we have to titrate the fluid and we have to continuously check mean arterial pressure, which we have to maintain at about 65 mmHg, and urine output at 0.5 to 1 ml per kg per hour. High volume ascorbic acid at the rate of 66 mg per kg per hour has shown to increase outcome. After 24 hours, we have to calculate the volume of fluid based on urine output, mean arterial pressure, central venous pressure. We have to also monitor bladder pressure and ventilator settings. If the bladder pressure is more than 20 mmHg and the peak alveolar pressure is more than 30 mmHg, these two findings indicate abdominal compartment syndrome and it has to be avoided. Now coming to the nutritional management. In case of sedated or intubated patient, nasojejunal tube is preferred compared to the nasogastric tube because there is prolonged gastroparesis. Now coming to the calorie count, we use the Curare formula. In adults, we calculate it with 25 into weight plus 40 into total burn surface area, and in child with 60 into weight plus 35 into total body burn surface area. And of these calories, 60% should be given by the protein source. You have to also supplement vitamin C, zinc and copper. Now as the burn is a hypermetabolic state, in acute setting we can also use the anabolic steroids such as the oxandrolone. It decreases the overall stay, but evidence has suggested that it does not decrease the overall mortality. In case of burn patient, the cardiac activity is also increased. For that, we have to give propranolol at the rate of 0.5 to 3 mm per kg per day. It decreases cardiac output, decreases the muscle wasting and improves healing. After the resuscitation, we can go for the early surgical intervention at the interval of 48 to 72 hours. We have to allow burn to show all the depth. In case of deep, partial and full thickness burn, if there are doubts about the readiness of the wound bed, we have to go for the cadaveric allograft. What we can do in surgical intervention, we can do surgical debridement and then SSG. We can do ischiotomy and fasciotomy for limb and chest. Now coming to the cold thermal injuries. For example, in case of frostbite, there is freezing of tissues. Treatment is gradual rewarming in warm water, followed by topical aloe vera and NSAIDs and debridement of blisters, and patient is sent home. Several months later, dry gangrene develops and it is followed by amputation. There are role of thrombolytics. It has shown to improve outcome. We also add aspirin and heparin for the patient in case of frostbite. Now coming to the chemical burn. In case of acid, there is coagulative necrosis. Treatment is water wash. In case of phenol, there is also coagulative necrosis. Here, polyethylene glycol is applied. In case of alkaline, there is liquefactive necrosis. Water wash is given. In case of hydrofluoric acid, it is an acid but there is liquefactive necrosis. Calcium gluconate, topical as well as injectable, is also given as there is chances of hypocalcemia. Coming to electrical burn are considered high voltage burn if the voltage is more than 1000. There is always entry and exit wound. In extremity injury is proportional to 1 upon cross section of the soft tissue. That means the lesser the cross section, more is the injury. Therefore, wrist is more commonly damaged. In bone, there is maximum resistance leading to maximum temperature of bone when electrical injury occurs. Therefore, deep muscle injury is much more than what is appearing superficially. Therefore, in case of electrical burn, there are high chances of compartment syndrome. To identify the compartment syndrome, we can use the striker needle closed pressure system. If the pressure is more than 30 mmHg, we can go for the fasciotomy. Moreover, there is also chances of electrolyte abnormality leading to cardiac problems. Moreover, due to the muscle damage, there is myoglobinuria and renal shutdown can occur. Therefore, along with fluid, we also add mannitol to prevent the renal shutdown. Here, the target urine output is 70 to 100 ml per hour.